Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fearless Female Entrepreneurs, where you will receive expert advice and inspiration from 20 fierce feminine leaders and entrepreneurial experts who want to help you supercharge your power as a feminine thought leader and ignite your own powerful rising. So I am your host, Jocelyn Mercado, and today I am so excited to announce Theresa Pridemore. Welcome, Theresa.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Oh, I'm excited too. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone who's on live, let me welcome you here. So if you are on live, go ahead and type your name and location into the chat so that we can see where everyone's calling in from. Always wonderful to see our lovely global group that we have here. So yeah, don't be shy. Hi, Laura in Portland.
Hi, Laura. Hi.
Hi, Louise in Illinois. Don't be shy, everybody. Hi, Lauren Rose in Paris. Hi, Pamela in Iowa. Wonderful, wonderful. I know we have more people joining as we go along. So yeah, just go ahead and keep on putting your names in there. Hi, Ibtisam in the UK. Good to see you here. And also, before we begin, I just have a quick little public service announcement. I want to let everybody know that the special $99 price for the unlimited lifetime access to all 20 of these amazing interviews with these incredible women entrepreneurs, the $99 price only lasts through the end of the day, Saturday, tomorrow. So be sure to claim your lifetime access now so that you will not miss out on any of these speakers. We're on day 5 now, so if you've missed any of the interviews or if there are any that you just loved and you want to come back to and listen to them again, be sure and claim that lifetime access. So if you're on live, I'm putting the link to lifetime access in the chat right now, and if you're listening to this as a recording, just scroll down a little bit below the video and below Theresa's free gift, and you'll see the link to claim that lifetime access. Okay, so back to the main event here. So Theresa, let me just introduce you to our audience. Theresa Pridemore is a soul brand strategist and online business mentor. She believes that soulful, high-integrity leadership is possible and that your visibility is vital to uplifting your full purpose. After running a successful web design and branding agency for over a decade, Theresa craved a deeper level of meaning in her work and desired to serve in a bigger way. She asked her guides, consulted her pendulum, and a new incarnation of her business emerged, Sovereign Spirit, a soul brand mentorship and online strategy consultancy designed to address the deeper challenges that spirit-led entrepreneurs face when approaching matters of visibility, value, and sustainability. Now, Theresa supports growing leaders in fully claiming their genius through inspired brands and step-by-step visibility strategies. When you are ready to claim the next level in your work and audience, Theresa is the person to call to help you navigate the terrain of going bigger with your expression, visibility, and mission. Okay, wonderful. So, Theresa, your topic for today is Harness Your Brand Magic, Power Archetypes for Female Entrepreneurs and Lightworkers. So to begin, could you tell us a little bit about your philosophy on branding and why do you call it soul branding?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a lot of people, when they think of a brand, especially when they're starting out, you think, oh, I need a logo, I need a color palette, I need to know what my photos look like. They tend to think of their brand in the context of how their materials look, their website and their business cards and things like that. And of course, or how they're dressing, and of course, those are certainly places where the brand shows up, but a brand is more of an energetic frequency that is transmitted through everything you do. And I think actually the place that the brand should live the most is in your messaging and how you show up and how you speak about what you do. And so my big goal, I instead of saying branding, I tend to say soul branding, because it's about getting in touch with that frequency. And that's a part of the reason I love archetypes so much in this work, because archetypes are a great way to step into very specific kinds of frequencies when you're trying to create kind of an attractive resonance, right? You're trying to attract people on an energetic level as well as that physical 3-dimensional level where you're manifesting that frequency in materials and how things look and how you dress and how you show up to things. So yeah, so that's my philosophy on branding, is that you want to go deeper. You want to go into the energy of what you're creating, the intention behind what you're creating, and then make sure that that frequency is apparent in everything that you do.
Yeah, wonderful. And I know, all the women who are attending this event are, they're on a mission, like they have a major life's purpose, soul's mission, reason that they've created their business or are working on creating a business. So I think that will really resonate with everybody here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly, when you are mission led, when you are spirit led, in some cases, a lot of the clients I work with would classify themselves as spirit-led entrepreneurs, and you generally tend to pay more attention to that frequency. Things have to feel authentic. They have to feel in alignment with your values, and so there are ways to there's of course a million different ways you can communicate your values, but when you're really clear on that going in, when you're clear on that that what is important to you and how you want to communicate and how you want people to feel when they're engaging with you, then you can intentionally and deliberately, make sure that that ripples out and is mirrored out in everything that you present.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, could you share, because I know so many of those who are on here, on this call are certainly consider themselves light workers or some variation.
Yeah, light workers, absolutely.
Yeah. So what unique challenges do light workers have as far as creating a brand and becoming visible?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So really, as light workers, there are a few things that we can run into when we're stepping out into more visibility. I find that a lot of light workers, people, especially healers and practitioners, in the beginning rely a lot on getting referral business because, usually they're really amazing at what they do, and they can get a lot of referral business because people get such incredible results they want to share. And of course, you can definitely attract a lot of clients that way, but there's always a ceiling that you hit when you do that. And a lot of those business owners get to a point where they have goals or creative visions that require more resources, require them to rethink how they're structuring their business, or maybe make them want to make more money, right? And so they have to start thinking about getting more visible. And it's funny, the rubber, this is where the rubber would hit the road back in the day when I was doing websites for people, because there were funny ways that resistance to visibility showed up in the process. So it sometimes came in like taking forever to get the content together, feeling a lot of lack of clarity around that. And I over time realized that was actually more about the visibility piece. I don't know if I want people to see me. I'm afraid that this new thing that I'm doing, I'm going to get judgment or ridicule because of it. And especially if you have anything that is maybe, we'll call over here in Portland woo about your work. If it's a little more woo, if it's new to you, if you're just coming out as an empath or a healer and you were doing something more traditional or mainstream before, those kinds of fears come up. But then it would all, with the website, sometimes we would go to launch day and it'd be like, it's live. Now you're going to go share it with everyone, right? And then they wouldn't. Sometimes take them a while to like build that inner reserve and their readiness to go tell everyone on Facebook, I have a new website, So it was funny. And that's when I started to realize that I needed that was the work I was really doing with people, was this inner work around visibility. And I shifted my business model to accommodate that. But, light workers, there's a lot of reasons for how and why that visibility fear can show up. And sometimes it is about being seen in a new way. It's funny, you can even have empathic gifts and have been doing it in your work, and then you do something that's just a little weirder to you, or you think it's a little weirder to other people, and then there's another layer of resistance that shows up around showing up in that, So that's really funny. But some of it comes back to like can be like pictures of being too big, or, you know, when you're a kid, like people treating you like you're strange, and that kind of feelings of exile and being ostracized for being unique and different. Those can come up when people are stepping out into greater visibility too.
Yeah. Yeah. This is really big. And this is just
Yeah.
so important to be talking about because
Yeah.
you know, I know when many years ago when I was in corporate, but I was creating Sacred Planet,
Oh,
I,
wow. That's a shift.
yeah, that was quite a shift. And I like
Yeah.
kept those two worlds completely separate. Like nobody in my old world knew what I was doing in my new world and vice, you know,
And
and
never the twain shall meet.
never they shall meet. And when they did, that was something. That was very confronting.
Oh, how cool.
Um,
What was that like?
but it was, so that was after I had quit corporate at least. So I
Uh-huh.
wasn't really trying to like uphold the image over there anymore. So that helped.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just, one, you know, at some point just decided to take that dive and connect the two worlds.
Yeah.
There was some fallout for sure,
Uh-huh.
you know, as always, our relationships change when we do that and everything.
That's true.
But
That's
it's
true.
about becoming more true to who we really are, you know, and fully expressing. So,
Yeah.
you know,
The benefits far outweigh, you
yeah,
know, the problems that will come up. And it's true, you know, I also work with a lot of people who are shifting into more leadership and shifting into different roles. And when they do, you know, the big fear is, am I going to lose my old client base? Am I going to lose my old audience? You
yeah,
will lose some, but you will gain so many more, just for, again, it comes back to that energetic part of the energetic part that's part of your business, part of your brand. When you're really aligned with what's true for you, and with your truth, with your expression, with your passion, and you let that flow through you, you're way more magnetic, and you're going to attract more people to you. It's just, you have to get over that first little hump, right? And
yeah,
the fears that are associated with it.
definitely. Yeah. And the ones who stay, the ones from your, you know, old audience that stay
Yeah.
with you, those are the ones that are really committed to you, that are, you know, really
Yeah.
loyal.
They
So,
tend to lean in more. They're like, thank you. We know that
yeah.
you've been, you know, people tend to know before you do that
Uh-huh.
something is coming. Like they go, yeah, duh. Like, thank you for finally doing the thing we've been waiting for you to do.
Right. Yes, exactly. And those are the people you want to keep. So it's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's a refining process of building, you know, your truer and truer tribe, right? As
Right.
we go
I,
along.
I agree. Absolutely. And you got to give yourself permission to be seen by them. You know, people tend to think that a website is visibility, and it isn't. It just lives out there, and it doesn't matter how much SEO you do, you know, it's not necessarily going to change the game. You have to keep showing up over and over again so that you can be on people's radar, so they can learn what your message is. They can learn all about what you care about and decide for themselves if they're aligned with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always think don't be afraid of the unsubscribes.
Oh,
Like,
right.
that
Oh,
used to
yeah.
freak me out so much, you know. And now I know that it's just I'm getting more and more clear on what my real message is, and the people that
Yeah.
match that are dropping away. And it's
So someone asked me yesterday if I had a mantra for unsubscribes, and I need to come up with one, but basically I said, you know, just look at it as your open rates are going up. Your
right.
read rates are going up because you're getting more focused. I have a friend and colleague here who, she says, some people get on the bus and then they get off the bus, and then maybe they get back on the bus again later, you know. Just look at it like a bus. I'm like, that is actually pretty brilliant, because
Yeah,
it's true.
that's good.
Sometimes people check out for a bit. They're like, yeah, that's enough for now.
Yeah.
It's
And
really
sometimes
not a
you
big
get
deal.
back
It's usually never personal, you know?
right. Yes. Well, tell us more about this concept around archetypes and how and why that is important when we're working on our brand.
Yeah. So when we are trying to brand, especially if you're intuitively kind of building your brand on your own bit by bit, you know, that's the way a lot of smaller solopreneur business owners end up doing it.
Mhm.
We tend to kind of like throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks, you know. And because we're so multifaceted ourselves, it can be challenging to make it feel cohesive, you know, to refine it. And so one of the quickest and easiest ways to kind of bring some cohesiveness to a brand is to really get clear on what kinds of bigger energies that you're trying to model in what you're doing. What's the most important energy for me to model in my brand, you know? And then, you know, and you can pull archetypes from so many different sources. It's not like there's like one perfect source of archetypes to tap into. You can think about people that you're drawn to, you know, they tend to represent an archetypal energy. I mean, for generations to come, when we think of Prince and David Bowie, you know, they will be their own archetypes now, right? they have their own archetypal energies that we think of and tap into. They're not even the real person, right? They are archetypes of themselves at this point to most people. So there's celebrities or people you're drawn to. There's, of course, I use tarot a lot. So the major arcana of tarot has several archetypes that are great for tapping into. And also, you know, goddesses and gods, and you can look at mythology for different kinds of archetypes, old stories for archetypes to step into. And there are different ways to use archetypes. You can use them to step into a specific kind of energy that you want to step into for different experiences within your business. You know, like when you're speaking, you're going on a summit like this, you're doing, you're talking to a client, a potential client on a call, like what kind of energy are you modeling there? So that's, I mean, again, your brand lives and breathes through these micro engagements as well as other things that you're doing. You can step into a specific archetype when you're writing an email, but when you're getting clear on your brand, it's a good idea to pick a couple that are really important energies that you want to model, and they can help you make decisions too about, you know, what kind of photography you're going to have, what kind of color themes you're going to be utilizing through your brand. You don't have to be only two archetypes all the time in your business. If you pick two, right, you could be all these others on the sidelines, as long as they make sense within the overall picture. So that's one way to look at archetypes there. And then there's another, you know, I was talking about stepping into energies and stepping into archetypes. There are actually also a variety of archetypes that I've identified for light workers and healers that they model, and they're more kind of practical archetypes. You know, you've got certainly the two that I talk about the most are, and which I think are the most powerful archetypes for women in business, are the priestess and the queen. Those are the ones I end up talking about the most, because they have a very strong relationship with each other and how they can help you sustain your business. But there's certainly, you know, there's the healer, there's the teacher, there's the muse, there's a bunch of different archetypes that we play within, and everyone has their primary combo, you know, that they do in their work, primary combination of archetypes that they're stepping into. And when you get really clear on those, then you can actually really hone in on why your work is special and unique, and amplify that.
Yeah, I love that. And I love this idea that, you know, we're not choosing one archetype and that's the one we have to stick with for the next 5 years or something. You know, that that we move in and out of different archetypes depending on what we're doing, depending on what, you know, what it is that we're creating based on that archetype. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there was something I was going to say, but I will talk a little bit about the priestess and the queen archetype, actually, because that's kind of the core of like what I think is really important. So this is something I've identified in the last couple of years, especially working with my client base. I found myself getting really curious about how these two archetypes play together in a lot of the businesses for a lot of light workers. So the priestess is actually is the archetype that most employ at certain in the work of their business when they're working with clients. And so the priestess is in charge of creating the container. She creates the container for healing, and she is the translator of the spirit world, you know, of spirit, of, you know, her guides. Yeah. And so and this is kind of a geeky thing. Like, there's a difference between her and the magician. Magician's like manifesting it, right? but the priestess is like the communicator, the conduit for the mystical arts, the wisdom that is hard to see for most people. And so the priestess wants to create a powerful healing container, because she knows that, you know, in our very kind of more masculine centric world, everything's about pushing, right? Everything's about making things happen. And the priestess lets things happen. And the reason that she trusts that things will happen is because she's set up a powerful container, and she knows how to use her tools to bring this energy into the experience. So she's the one who makes it possible for the transformation to occur. You know, everybody who's creating a healing container is creating some kind of transformation. And so, you know, the priestess just wants to do her work. The priestess she just wants to do the healing. She just wants to, you know, that's what she wants to focus on. And you'll hear a lot of healers say, you know, I just want to do my work. Do I have to do all this marketing crap? Like, I really don't.
Right.
Someone else take care of that for me. And, you know, and it comes from a good place. You know, when we see that we have the power to offer transformation, we want to do more of it. It's addicting. It feels amazing to feel like you're helping people transform.
Yeah. Our zone of genius, you know, if that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so the thing is, once upon a time, the priestess had someone giving her a temple to work in, you know, to do her work in and to support her. But we don't have that mock-up in our culture right now. And so women have to make their own temple. They have to be their team, to be in charge of supporting their own inner priestess. And so that's why she needs her queen. And so you employ your queen to take care of your priestess, you know, and she is in charge of building the empire, so to speak. She creates the community to bring the people to work in the priestess's temple and her container. And she creates the sustenance and financial thriving to support the priestess in her work. So you can't, you have to, I mean, if you're going to be bringing in such high level energy, transformative energy in your work, you need to be able to take care of yourself, feed yourself, not be stressing about money all the time. You know, those are the most basic things, right? But a lot of people, to maintain their frequency, need regular body work or, you know, energy work. They need to have time to meditate and have spaciousness in their day to really get in touch with that higher energy. They need to feel expansive enough to bring the best work possible, you know? So the queen creates space for that, and she takes charge of the marketing and the messaging and things like that. So she's there to support her. Another way I've seen this, there's a kind of another mock-up like this where it's like your adult supporting your inner child, you know, like, you know, saying, okay, guess what? I'm going to give you time to play, you know, and then when I do that, you're going to support me in getting what I need to get done. Let's make a deal, you know.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I see when people can call those both in, then they're more successful, because you get out of this, I mean, we make, it becomes an excuse at some point, not to be, you know, hard about it. And I know this from personal experience, the whole, like, I just want to work in my genius. It's like, that's nice, but that's not going to happen. You have to step into the energy of providing the space for that, for you to be able to do more of that work. And so if you can go, well, today I'm stepping into my queen so that I can take care of my priestess, I think that actually puts you in a more empowered stance.
Yeah, I love that. You could even, I'm even like taking this a step further in my mind. I don't know if this works, but we talked to a speaker earlier in the week who has created a 3-day work week, and she has an A week and a B week, which is something I've seen that's a great way to maximize your time and everything. So I wonder if you could have like a week where you're the priestess and a week where you're the queen. And
that's cool.
Clients, you know, and doing those kinds of things. The queen week is for the visioning and
oh my gosh,
making everything happen.
I love that idea. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, I think that it's a matter of figuring out like what's your flow too. And I think something like that would work really well if you've been having a challenge around doing that. You can be very intentional and focused. You know, if it's something that's hard for you to switch on and off from situation to situation. Now, personally, I I love I love both of the things. So, you know,
easily go back and forth.
yeah, I tend to, just because I love it. And that's part of what I try to teach people to do, is find a way to enjoy their marketing and their messaging and make it another creative expression. But, you know, I also know that I'm kind of an odd duck. You know, I just like, the more writing I can do, I'm like, yay, I get to write a newsletter. This is awesome. Newsletter, sorry, not a newsletter, a marketing message. I don't like calling them newsletters. Write email messaging. I do enjoy doing that. I'm a weird cat that way, though.
Yeah, but it's the most important thing is to do, you know, and this has been like a huge theme that's come up in every single interview so far, is that you've got to do what's right for you, right? You know,
yeah, you've got to find your flow.
Try to follow somebody else's system if it feels wrong for you.
Exactly. You know? I know it's funny how often we bump into that. And we think, we hear someone say, this is the way I'm supposed to do it. And then we try to do that for a long time, and then we're not getting anywhere with it. And we think there's like a failing on our part, you know, until one day you go, oh wait, this is just not working for me. If I do it this way, I'm doing great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, if we could get to that place sooner, we'd be a lot better off, I think.
Yes, that would help.
I know.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes.
Well, thank you for that, for sharing about the
Priestess
Queen. That's got me thinking on all kinds of levels. So yeah, thank you for that. Well, could you share with us next about the what is the relationship between building your brand, developing your programs and offerings and all of that, because they, you know, they need to fit together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, it's funny that early on when I was stepping into doing more focused branding work, I kept, you know, questioning myself, like, why do I feel compelled to work on all these other things too? That's not a brand. And the thing is, the brand is a part of everything. You know, so they kind of have to go together. And I actually find now that when people start by getting really clear on their offers and their core offer, that can actually be a driving force for the rest of the brand too. You know, if you start really clear with what's the work, you know, we tend to start with the external things first because that seems easier, seems more right. And actually, you got to come in like, what's the core of this? What am I really offering? And who am I really offering it to? And when you do that, everything else in your brand just makes more sense, you know, and it is all woven together. And, you know, I call it your soul offer. You want to make sure that core offer, that whatever is at the center of your business, even if you have a bunch of other things that you're doing, you know, like here's one we can think of, like Marie Forleo has B School. That's clearly her core offer. And of course, you know, her brand is also very much tied in with her and her image and how she does things. She's got Q&A Tuesdays and other like things that she's really well known for. But I'm willing to bet, you know, that's everything is built off of B School. You know, what needs to serve B School, right? So that she can fill it every year, you know, so it's very intentional. And one thing about being really clear on what your programs and offerings are, and who they're for, it's then you're getting really clear on who your soulmate clients are and how to communicate with them for them to get what they need. And then, you know, now better what your brand needs to do to bridge the gap between you and what you offer and how you want to be seen and witnessed in the world, and how your client wants to, I mean, that how you want to be seen is always like a part of how your client wants to be seen as well, right? Because they're connecting and they're energetically matching with you for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that other thing about really stepping into who you are, and then that's giving your audience permission to be mirrored and witnessed in you being witnessed in who you are. It's really an interesting experience. I found that for myself, you know, the more I step into my deeper and deeper levels of authenticity, I think that I'm having, you know, greater and greater resonance, because people are really, they're like, yeah, I want to do more of that too. Thank you for stepping out in that. And that's where I think that, you know, a lot of us are stepping into more and more leadership and modeling, because the more you can model that authentic frequency, the more other people will feel permission to do the same.
Yeah, I think that is so important, especially now. I just feel like there's such an energy, such an atmosphere right now of just knowing that we need to do things differently than we've done them in the past, whatever that and that means something different for different individuals. But
yeah,
that we have a certain responsibility as thought leaders, to really model a new way,
yeah,
and a new energy and a new perspective. I think that's so important for all of us to think
I agree.
about as we're building our business.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it is interesting when we're stretching into new territory for ourselves. We tend to think of it in terms of risk to ourselves or fears that we have. Our brain tends to go down the "I won't be accepted" path, and really, actually, when you step out more and more, I've found. I mean, it doesn't mean that things don't show up when you get, let's say if you get really, really big, you use like super celebrity status. Yeah, people are gonna, be jerks sometimes. But I think on the whole, like we tend to focus on the negative when most people are really, it's more about more people being excited versus the other way around, and there is a shift happening toward, there's like a deepening and more freedom and permission to be self-expressed and to be yourself. And we want to be a part of what's creating that beautiful expansion. We want to be going with it and to be able to be leading that, be a part of the leading of that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, just so important to bring into what we are doing.
I agree.
Well, so I love this part of your title for your talk today about brand magic.
Yeah.
And I feel like that speaks to this self-expression and authenticity, that we really want to bring forth. So what is your take on that, on how to create a really authentic brand? How can we go about doing that?
Yeah. So, a lot of it comes from getting really clear on, so we talk about your core genius. So that is an important part of it, your natural gifts and tendencies that are expanding and growing over your life experience, right? And we sometimes discover we have new gifts
that we didn't know were there.
Yeah. And then we have to go, give those lots of space and explore those. And then there's also our personal interests and our passions too. I think, sometimes we have a tendency to say, okay, well, that goes off to the side. I don't do that over here. And there are times when you don't necessarily want to. I mean, I think about, sometimes people are artists and they actually don't want to weave it in because they want that to be really sacred and to have its own space. But there are parts of us that we leave out of our business and our brand that we can weave in, and of course, early on for me, I mean, the easiest example I can find is, I would do tarot readings a lot on the side, and now, of course, I made my own tarot deck and I made my own oracle deck and I pull cards in client sessions now, when we get stuck. And of course, I would have thought that was weird once upon a time, but I wove it in, and now I feel like it's more fun and people like it, and that's the thing that I was surprised by, is how much people liked it. I thought I was just putting it in there because I like it. And of course, all my clients love that kind of thing too. It's not the focus, but I get to bring that in. And more and more, I found ways to weave my creative self into my brand, into my work, and that has made it more resonant. But there's something else, like I've been playing with in the last couple of years too, and it's again around archetypes and thinking about the idea of being authentic and genuine. And sometimes I feel like when we're stepping out into more visibility, especially early on, there's this question of integrity that's always haunting us. We want to be really authentic. And sometimes that manifests as like being resistant to other people being visible. I don't want to do it like that. They're posting all the time on Facebook. If I see another new headshot, I'm going to go crazy or something, especially when you're surrounded by business owners, that seems to be the case. I know that her authentic thing that she wrote about her vulnerable moment was really just a marketing message in disguise. I know, Early on, that's the things we say. Now I love it. Like I just embrace all of it, but there was a time when that I would have to laugh at those moments early on in my career. I would go, what the heck is going on in my brain? And then I started to notice it wasn't just me doing that. And I've paid attention to that over the years. And so there's this obsession with being authentic, and it can show up as like, I'm not going to do it like that. they're not being authentic, and really it's the fear of visibility. So that's one thing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, because I think we've all been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it manifests, right? Is that it's like they're doing it wrong, and that's actually my fear of visibility coming up. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
But stepping beyond authenticity, I've been really interested in this, and then the trickster archetype is something that comes up for me, because sometimes when you're stepping into something new, it's not authentic to you yet. When you're stepping into a new energy, it's not authentic. Or what if there is a creative reason to play with a different archetype than is technically genuine, but it's perfect for the healing work that you're trying to provide through your message or the image that you're creating. You think about, like, I talk about David Bowie a lot, but he played a lot with the trickster archetype. He put on different personas to let the work come through that persona. For different albums, he was creatively using different archetypes and masks. And of course, we didn't think that was him, but that didn't matter so much. And I think that giving ourselves permission to play with a new archetype and go, I'm going to try this one on, or I'm going to put this out there. It's not technically who I am, like when I'm sitting in my jammies watching Netflix at home, like it's not that authentic, but it's creatively authentic. It serves a purpose. It's intentional. It's used in love. It's used with a playful spirit. That, I think, giving ourselves more permission to step into those kinds of energies and to step into brands that leave a little room for us to play and be a little bit of a trickster is actually a really powerful thing to play with. And so to kind of put the authenticity to the side a moment and go, but how do I want to be a trickster, and how do I want to play in this space? Do I absolutely need it to be exactly me? Like, can I actually have a persona online and in my pictures that isn't the me that everyone else sees every day? Is that okay? I used to think that, like, oh, it's got to be perfectly aligned. I don't want to, seem false. And of course, I think that there is a point at which you're pretending to be someone you're not. You can push that too far, but to play with it a little bit, to go, I'm going to play with my image. That's fine. That's fun. I'm going to have fun with this, as opposed to making it very serious.
Yeah. To allow it to be like creative play.
Yeah, exactly. And we take things very seriously sometimes. We don't need to.
That is for sure. Yeah.
I know all about that.
And I would venture to say that, the archetypes that we are kind of inclined to take on may be something within us that we just haven't developed yet, right? Or we haven't get out of the bag yet,
Right.
So it even seems to me like important for our personal development to do that.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. It's, like, why do people get haircuts when they're going through big life change?
Yeah.
It's like, it's an identity shift. And, to your point, you think about people we look up to and admire, they tend to have qualities that are already in us that we are just stepping into, or we're starting to step into.
Yeah.
So you think about, thinking again about archetypes, anyone you admire, sit down and list everything you admire about them, and then go, okay, well, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Or I'm not yet, maybe, or I'm very close, but that potential is already in there inside of you. Otherwise you wouldn't be noticing it in them.
Right. Or the desire to become that.
Yeah. And you're stepping into that in some way. You have the capacity already, because you wouldn't notice it if that frequency wouldn't match if you didn't already, have it in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. And yeah, if Sam commented, I have to comment on this.
I know, I love it.
She's been with me through so many of my summits now. And in one of them, she was, deeply on her spiritual journey, and she shaved her head, like, as a result of some of the things we were talking about in the summit, and was very visible with it. So yeah, huge kudos to Ibtisam for being courageous.
That's awesome. I love it. Or a head shave. Yeah. I haven't been brave enough to do that. When I feel my skull, it feels a little weirdly lumpy. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work out for me. It's tempting though.
Yeah. Well, if you're thinking about it.
I know, right?
Yeah. Do it at some point.
I know, it's true. I probably should.
Yeah. Well, so what advice would you have for people who are, either starting out on their branding journey for their business or maybe wanting to make a change to their existing brand?
Yeah.
Like what's important for us to know when we're in that point in the process?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So what I think is that it's important to recognize, if you're a light worker, and you are if you're here, that you're always evolving, and you're always going to be evolving, and that's never going to stop. That's never going to change.
So
I
true.
used to, yeah, I used to make this joke with my old website clients. I would say, so here's the thing, we're going to start making this website, and then by the time we're done, you're going to have changed and you're going to hate it already. You know, because there's a transformational journey you go on when you make a website. You're getting very clear about who you are, and the moment you get clear about who you are is the moment you want to change into someone else.
I have been there.
Yeah.
I have done that.
So it's like once you identify that and accept that as the reality, and then you don't have to strain with that. Laura says yes to that. So you don't have to fight with it. You just go, okay, this is the way it is. I'm going to step out onto this journey to create this new thing or to do that new thing. And it's going to feel like the ground is constantly shifting underneath me. And that's just part of the deal. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to, because that's the other thing, we can never launch, or we can never make the change because it's never right. So you kind of have to plant your flag a little bit as you go, a little more. But you're never going to really arrive. You'll have a new launch and it'll feel good for a minute. and then you'll go, oh, but now that's not right. So it's just having a little bit of grace with the process, I think, is very important. And do what you can. Do the next thing that you can do. It doesn't have to all happen all in one go. We tend to, think in absolutes. One of my teachers calls them perfect pictures. You make up these perfect pictures about how it's all going to come together. And then if it doesn't, you don't feel like it's working out. It's like what's happening when you're a light worker is that you're connected to the astral realm. Most of us, like, we can see the original blueprint, purest, truest, beyond perfection blueprint. Like, perfection isn't even a concept in the astral. It's just things are what they are. It's like all this vortex of all the co-creative components in this beautiful swirl. And we read it and then we go, I want that. I want that right there. And I'm going to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
No, never. That wasn't why we incarnated here. We incarnated to play with space and time and to see things unfold imperfectly over moments, And so just to remember that, if you're a creative person, which you probably are also, it's, you're going to feel like that things never look the way they look in your head, so to speak. And that's okay. That's just part of the game. And if your transmission is there, your frequency is there, it's okay. It doesn't matter. People will read your mock-up with you if you hold the energy, right? So you just keep holding the energy and then say, I know this isn't perfect, but it's a great window into my mock-up. Do you see my mock-up? And they go, yeah, I can read that thing in the astral, So it's an energetic way to look at it as you're evolving and expanding, and not worry so much about things not being perfect, I think.
Yeah, I find that very comforting. I really do, because, I think we all want it to be perfect. We want to get things perfect, but if we just accept the fact that, it's not going to be perfect, it's not, but it's a representation of where you are right now in your continual growth and up-leveling and evolution. And, I have a course, a business building course. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main things that I say over and over in that course to my students is that, this is an evolutionary process. You're going to change and change again and change again. And it's good. It's all good. And it is okay. And it's all part of the plan,
Take a breath. It's okay. Some days it feels like, oh gosh, can I just stop changing? Can I get off the ride for a second? No. Sorry.
You know, truly, like none of us really want to be doing the same thing 20 years from now.
No, of
You know, I
course.
want to be 20 versions different by then. So, or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
But
totally. Agreed.
one of the keys to happiness as far as I'm concerned. So,
Me too. Yeah. I don't ever want, I mean, just sitting still is not an option for me, for sure. You know, and the thing is, it's funny, like sometimes we feel like we've changed a lot, and it's all degrees, right? That little tiny tweak and that little tiny change can feel so big to us
yes.
that it makes everything impossible. Everything is impossible. And it's like, well, actually, it's really not that big of a change. Just change a few words here, change a few words there. You're good. Like, it's okay. You don't have to reinvent the whole thing. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I got to write all this new content. And then I happen to discover a file that I wrote like 2 or 3 years ago. And I read it and I go, this is all the same, except for 2 things, this and that, you know, like why do I think it's all so different? You know? I'm really just evolving. I'm not like, I didn't just wake up one day and turn into a whole different person. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It feels that way, but it didn't.
Gradual shifts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Theresa. This has been so much fun and just
Yeah, thank
awesome.
you.
The value of what you're sharing here is just amazing. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me to do it. This has been a blast. I've really enjoyed it. And I love, as you can see, I just love talking about this stuff. I can just do it all day.
Good, good. Well, and so I know you are offering a wonderful free gift, the Soul Brand Guide,
Yes.
To everyone listening. So would you like to say a few more words about that?
Yeah. So my Soul Brand Guide, it's an ebook that helps you get really clear on kind of the frequency stuff around building your brand and why it's important, and you know, the things around visibility that we were talking about, you know, the fears that light workers tend to have. So there's some juicy content in there for that. And if you sign up for that, I actually have something that's going to be dropping very soon. It's going to be a 6 training e-course for it's called High Vibe Visibility Secrets for Healers, Coaches, and Light Workers. And so it's not live yet, but it will be soon. So if you sign up for that, you'll also get that as soon as it comes out in the next week or 2.
Fantastic. So it's like 2 free gifts.
Yeah.
For just one little action here. So
yes.
Everybody go ahead and be sure to claim that. So if you're live on the call, I just put that link in the chat so you can easily click on it and grab that free gift right now. And if you're listening to this as a recording, just scroll down a little bit below this video screen and you will see the link right there to get Theresa's free gifts.
Yay.
Yeah, yay. Thank you for offering those.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for putting it out there for people. I'm excited to see who partakes.
Yes, yes. So I would love to open this up for Q&A now. So anyone who would like to ask Theresa a question or share a comment or an insight that you've had while we have been talking here, please go ahead and raise your hand. And so just look for that hand icon in Zoom. You'll see it right there. You can click on that or tap on that if you're on a mobile device, and we'll bring you over to chat with us. And so I highly recommend becoming visible by raising your hand, but if you really don't want to be visible, you can also ask your question in the chat and I will read it and we'll talk about it that way too. Okay, Ibtisam, I am bringing you over. Okay, hi Ibtisam, I can't see you, but we should be able to hear you. Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Hi.
And see how beautifully her hair has grown back since she
it is gorgeous.
It's 18 months.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get, I can't get you. I don't know, I'm not being able to see you now that you've got me on. I'm seeing all 3 of us really tiny. But anyway, I can't tell you, oh my God, Jocelyn, it's been after many, many months that I'm feeling this in my body. Theresa, oh my God, you know, like Monique said that day that you want to jump up on the table and do a jig. I want to do somersaults, cartwheels, I don't know, all sorts of stuff, even things I don't know, maybe like swim and sink, and I don't know, it was just like energetically, everything was going crazy. So I kind of started taking deep breaths.
That means it's really important for you, all that you heard here.
Oh, so great. I love that.
It's even your topic, because the word magic, and you know, Jocelyn, we know my connection with magic, right? Magic of You Online and her title, and the fact that I'm trying to do, I've been sort of incubating magic of intimacy forever. Like, if somebody can just get, and now I kind of think, you know what? Forget the labor pains. I don't want to wait. Can somebody induce this now?
That's so
I'm
funny.
like so done. I have to kind of tell myself, be patient, divine timing, trust it. And there are some days I swear I feel I just want a C-section. I just like, come on, like just do it now, please. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, been there. I get it.
Yeah, and it's just everything, and the synchronicities were, like there are a lot of things I don't know. Just to give you a quick background, so the things that you said about I've been a psychotherapist for like over 17 years, and my main thing was relationship counseling. So everything that you mentioned, I had a thriving practice, like a long waiting. I was living in India, and when bit of strange things, I moved back. I was working in an organization in England. And I moved back to India, and I was sort of setting up house, getting everyone my daughter adjusted in school, and I was feeling really miserable that I stopped working, and I went to a homeopath for something, and she says, "What do you do?" Because as she was talking to me, I was doing all the reflection. I wasn't even giving her a chance to say anything because I was doing my own reflection back. So I said, "I'm a counselor." She said, "We need people like you around. Would you just like to start working in my, I've got another room." So, when you said about that the temple is provided. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, I never did anything. It was just complete word of mouth practice. After the first client, I never looked back. It was just like, it was magic. And this lady, I kind of just, everything was working. Then weird circumstances, I moved back to England and my practice drops. Weird stuff starts happening to my body. My life crumbles apart. Everything I knew just disappears.
Wow.
That's when lots of things were happening when Jocelyn came into my life. And then I now, if this ever is written in a massive narrative, my tagline is going to be, and the rest is history. Because everything started changing. And then, anyway, to cut a long story short, because, when you, just before you mentioned the word tarot, all these things, because I've been a psychotherapist, everything has been in the head. Yeah. And for the last 18 months, a lot of embodied stuff, doing a lot of 5 rhythms, just getting into the body and feeling things.
Yeah.
And, when you talked about the goddess and the priestess, and I think I kind of hold that. I kind of, a lot of, there's so many things about sexuality and the kind of work that I had to bring in. And, this is the visibility factor. It's also interesting that I'm actually sitting with a sleeveless t-shirt today because I almost never expose my, I can't explain this. Anyway, I'm just
it's like you're becoming more visible.
Down a bit. Because it got so much involved with sexuality and women's sexuality and men's because of my nature of work. This was an area where you say there was terrific resistance in my own self, because counseling and doing relationship work is one thing, but bringing in the whole dynamic of sexuality. Yeah. Given that I also was a psychosexual counselor, but still this is a whole different shame, blame arena, and my own personal lived in experiences with a lot of stuff. So I think there was so much of resistance. And when you were speaking about, things like, no, I want to do it my way, and this is not, and I think Jocelyn will understand. I have, every time she sort of gently pushed me forward, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do Facebook. I'm not going to do this. This is not my style. I just don't do it. And, when you said something like, and I kind of say this, I said, this is not my work. Like, for Christ's sake, I'm not the kind of person who's going to create a website. Somebody else will do it for me. That's not my thing. Like, it's so kind of, I'm doing what I'm good at. It's like, and when you said that, it resonated. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm waiting for these other collaborative people who are good at what they are doing, and let them do that. I'm doing, so when you mentioned about the queen, and I'm like, yeah, that was the masculine, that was for me, that spoke really loudly, that I needed to get the doer out as well. That, you can't just be this sort of priestess and say, I'm going to snap my fingers. But now, having said that,
you can do both. sometimes it's just, we get into one mode, right? You go all the way too far. And and you can hire people to do things. I mean, not everyone can to do all the things. So there are things that, you know, we want to hire out that we should be doing ourselves, like our messaging. But yeah. It sounds like you're good at manifesting things. I think that's the thing. Like a lot of us are, but then there's a point at which it's like you have to actually weave your energy into it and actually make the thing happen.
You are ready. You are ready.
Yeah,
You're so
it sounds like it to me. And I love that you're honoring more of where your real interests lie now. And it's, you know, it's funny, with something you're mentioning is how what happens often is our personal edge is the edge that we're meant to explore with our clients too.
Always. And I was making notes while she was speaking. And for me, one of the biggest issues all my life has been about permission. You know, been very approval seeking. And will somebody give me the permission, then I'll do it. And I think this whole journey with Jocelyn and I call Jocelyn and her tribe, whether it's Dream Symposium, they've all been like, I've been felt held, even though the journey has been very on your own. It still feels there is someone out there who's understanding you. But I think what I wanted to mention is the thing that you said about authenticity, and I think it's also a question that you know, when you said what you want for yourself is what you want for the clients, and I think that for me is exactly what it is. That it's about it's living your true potential in your fullest, with courage, with integrity. That is what I want for myself and for my clients, and I think that is what my clarity. That is my client base. So awesome. and most importantly, it's balancing the masculine and feminine, because that has been a huge struggle for me all my life. You know, really. So I think, you know, with this session, I knew that was, but you kind of just totally packed it for me. So thank you.
No, thank you for sharing. It's so lovely to hear your story. And it sounds to me like the thing that you need to birth this baby, this 20-month baby, is to decide that it's time.
It's time. And when you mentioned, you know, like 20 seconds before you mentioned tarot cards, and now all this is very esoteric and very new. I've never done all this, but I was doing it with a friend the other day, and she made me take this out, and I took this particular card out.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Oh, yes, I'm familiar with that deck.
And the funny thing is, this happened 20 seconds before. I was thinking tarot cards.
So you never do tarot. That's so fun.
And then you mentioned that word. I'm like, this is synchronicity. And what it says as well, you know, when you said that she just snaps her fingers and she manifests things. And when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what the interpretation is.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of that deck? I don't remember what it is.
It's called Osho Zen.
Osho Zen. That's it. That's the one.
It's called Osho Zen, and she gave me the whole interpretation, and because I fell in love with the card, she kind of gave the card to me. She said, take it home and put it on your altar. So that's what I've been doing. But it's wonderful what what is said, you know, what you said about the playfulness, and it's all about being alive, and it's all about sexuality. And I'm like, I was just going crazy. I'm like, oh my God, this is working. This is it.
That's great. So I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, and she says it's all about being fully alive and letting other people express their joy of being alive. And then I'm thinking of Claire's interview, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is Jocelyn.
Oh, so good. So good. I love it. Oh,
thank you
so much. I love your bubbling energy. It's fabulous.
Me too.
Now I feel like I just had a caffeine boost for the rest of my day.
I'm feeling, you know, I've never done any sort of drugs. I wanted to do magic mushrooms once in my life, but right now I feel I've got everything pumping in my body. I had to literally sit on my hands because I was written there. I wanted to raise all my hands. I thought I had to develop tentacles.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. Oh my God.
Thank you, Theresa, for sharing. This has been beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. And hopefully I hope to see you in our next interview too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Dawn, let me bring you over to talk with us here.
Hello.
Hi, Dawn. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I just love that last conversation. And part of it is that energy that we bring to each other, right? The support is just amazing. In our own work, we still have this tribe around us that has that energy that we just enjoyed right now. So one of the questions I have is yes to all of the ideas, right? Yes to the evolution. Mm-hmm. And that happens for me all the time. Mm-hmm. My question is, at what point do you stay, right? You begin to get something going and it's starting to go, and then this next idea comes in and you kind of transfer to that, but you don't stay long enough to...
Great question.
And I will say, honestly, to tie it in with monetizing, right? If you keep kind of leaving what you started because you have this other great idea.
Right.
So I would just love a little bit of...
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that it's important if you can find something that kind of covers most of the bases of what you're attempting to do. You're really clear on what it is that you're trying, what kind of results you're trying to get with people, and what kind of experience you want to have, and you create a container for that. You keep the container pretty steady, but then you add to it or you shift it in little ways rather than abandoning it entirely. It doesn't have to become a whole new thing. And I find that, there are times when it becomes clear that something needs to branch off or it needs to change, or I need to do something totally new. Maybe not, it's usually not totally new. It might just have a new name, and like I may have taken half of it out and put a new half of something in, right? But you want to try to keep something, your primary, like I call your soul offer, you want to try to keep that steady for at least a couple of years so you can give it a chance to evolve and avalanche. And then you can put your toe into other things and explore other things, as long as they're not, taking you away from your core focus. I think it's always important to have one core thing that you're letting it grow and expand. And then, it's also a matter of like giving it time. Like if you have a new idea, you can start working on it a little bit and documenting it. But if after time it doesn't keep building momentum, then maybe it wasn't something that you were meant to do. The key is not to just abandon things, is to give it time to prove whether or not it's actually that next thing that you're meant to evolve into. And I think it's helpful when you have like coaches and other containers you can go into where people can witness to you, like, actually, this sounds like shiny object syndrome, right? Shiny object syndrome, maybe give it a little time and let it shake out and see if it's still making sense. This one's a tough one because there's really no hard and fast answer. And it's kind of a trick of knowing yourself. If you know that you're the kind of person who is a generative, very creative person, and you do feel like you fall prey to bright, shiny object syndrome, ask yourself always when something new comes up, is this furthering my overall goals? How does this tie back to my business? Is this actually moving the mark for me on my business? And if the answer is no, it doesn't mean that you don't do it per se. It just means give it more time to feel into it, just to make sure that it's not something your soul is beckoning you to do. Because, I'm also running a web series. I'm making a show sometime the next year or two. And, I had to spend a lot of time with that. Is this going to further my goals? And there are ways that it can, but that's essential to my soul, and I have to do it. Like, it's a thing I just have to do to feel complete. So now I'm like, okay, well, how can I structure everything else so that I can create space for that, as opposed to it being the thing that I just abandon everything for, because that's our temptation when we get, it's a way of running away sometimes. And I learned that because I'm an artist too. So my art side used to fight all the time with my business side. And it would be this weird pendulum swing, like, no, I'm an artist now. No, I'm a businesswoman now. No, I'm an artist now. And I realized I was sabotaging them both, by doing that. And I eventually came to this place of, okay, I get to have a thing that's growing and developing, and I get to create space to explore this over here if I need to, when I'm able to. I don't know if that answers your question. It probably doesn't exactly answer it.
I have that container. I feel like I have finally.
Yeah.
Kind of a core piece. And maybe what's happening is that within that core piece, it's like mind mapping, right? You have your core idea in the middle, and then you've got all these little bubbles around. And so what's happening is with that core idea, for instance, I've written a book. Now I want to do the second book because there's that bubble, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't spent enough time kind of promoting the first book or speaking to it as a speaker, and coach. And so I feel like sometimes okay, Dawn, you need to pull back and kind of complete a little bit more of that circle before you step into this. So yeah, I think what you said is very helpful. And it is acknowledging that the core piece actually is there. I know what that is. And slowing down maybe a little bit and saying, okay, here's this idea. I'm just going to put it in the parking lot.
Right. Or develop it when you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can make time for it, you know, put a little bit of time in your week. Because that is the perennial problem for writers, honestly, is by the time that you're marketing your first book, you already want to write another book. It's just the way it is, you know?
Exactly.
And so I would say make it a yes and, you know, try to find a way into a yes and with it.
It's
like,
a great coaching phrase.
Yeah. Just go ahead and do keep marketing the other, and then make a little time in your schedule to do the other. Because obviously it wouldn't be coming through for you if it wasn't important.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Well, and that's the trust I have, right? That's
what I'm reading for you is that you do need to write that next book. Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
This has been fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for asking your question too. That's a really great one. I'm glad you said it, and thanks for sharing about your book. I'm excited to hopefully hear about your book.
Thank you.
Both your books.
Yeah, great question, Dawn. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we have a question in the chat from Brenda. Where can we learn more about the archetypes, please?
Yeah, so I am in the process, speaking of books, I'm both things. I'm developing a group program around working within archetypes for your brand. It's going to be called a Soul Brand Secrets Program, and that I'm going to probably be launching mid-March. So there's that. And there will be a book related to it. Once I started writing the program, a book basically wrote itself. So that, speaking of books, that will be coming up. And in my newsletter, I do talk about archetypes on my email list. So if you sign up for that, I will be messaging around that for that program, and of course around archetypes and around all kinds of things around branding and visibility. I do talk about on my list. So yeah, if you sign up for the free offer, you'll be on my list and you'll get all those goodies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Let's see. I'm looking for more questions. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I'm going to do a last call here. Last call to ask Theresa your question. Don't be shy. This has been such a great interview. I know there will be some more questions out there. So go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to ask her something. And if not, we'll go ahead and close. Everybody's being quiet now. You have to stop. I have more. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we will probably go ahead and close the call then. Oh, let's see. Okay, Alice is raising her hand. So Alice, let me bring you over.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, Alice.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah, question. I'm Alice. I was very surprised about the archetypes. I like it very much. Yeah, because of my name is Alice, and I like very much to make nice green environments and use creativity and work with children and help schools to make nice environments. Maybe you have some tips about archetypes, the combination of my name, Alice in Wonderland. I use it also in a video for crowdfunding. So there's the music of Alice in Wonderland, and I'm talking about creating wonderlands.
Oh, beautiful.
So, but maybe, yeah, I was thinking during your talk about rabbits, about animals, about I'm from hiding myself. I'm now 50 plus. I'm 53, I think. And I don't like to be visible, but I know I have to, and yeah, it's really a big thing. It's there is really a lot of fear, and yeah, it's out of childhood, of course. I don't know, but maybe you have some tips about archetypes and Alice in Wonderland and animals and how to make nice combinations. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, coming into your question about being afraid of being visible and how that kind of stems from childhood, I would say you can find, if you can think of I mean, for one, well, Alice in Wonderland, she's kind of fearless and she's going into the unknown, right? Into this whole other land, and not being afraid to ask questions and not being afraid to not know what to do, you know, in this new environment. So if you were to adopt that particular archetype for yourself, then think about it as kind of from the perspective of Alice. Like, you can go into this terrain of maybe being more online, or doing more, you know, I don't know if you want to do videos or if you want to do more messaging, whatever you end up doing, giving yourself permission to be in this unknown world, this world where you don't feel like you understand all the rules, right? And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to eat you can eat the one thing that makes you bigger, because then you can go drink the other thing that makes you smaller, and it's going to be fine. Everything's going to end up being balanced in the end, and you're going to find your way, you know? So that could be one way for you to step into that archetype around visibility. And then I loved you mentioned rabbits. So rabbits tend to represent, in tarot, it's connected with the Empress card, which is my, you know, the flip side is the Queen archetype. It's about being prolific. It's about fecundity. It's about creativity and birthing, you know? So if you're connecting with rabbits, if you're feeling a strong connection with rabbits, you know, think about, you know, the white rabbit kind of led her into this creative zone, right? She followed the rabbit into this really rich, creative, fertile place. And so where's the rabbit leading you? What's your inclination? Do you follow the rabbit, or do you talk yourself out of following the rabbit? Do you just stay out of Wonderland? Do you stay under the tree and just keep reading your book, you know? So if you have a curiosity or an insight, is your tendency to shut it down, or do you actually follow it? So there's that part of the rabbit energy. And then you can, of course, just use the rabbit energy in just being creative and playful with your brand itself. If you're working with children, giving yourself more permission to play might make it easier for you to be visible, maybe being more childlike in your own exploration of that, and letting it be something that you jump into playfully, as opposed to it with seriousness. I don't know, is that helping at all? Is any of that connecting for you, or giving you a way in?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really have to play with videos, I think, and to the Facebook thing. I don't know.
Just
how
pick
to
one. You don't have to master everything at one time. Pick one thing that you're going to try to get a little better at. You know, whichever one feels like the easiest one for you to get into and follow. It doesn't have to be all of them. That's what would be my advice. Yeah. So whatever you're more curious about, start there.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say is, you also hello.
It's all good. No worries.
You said before you are very creative, so you have different aspects you want to do. So I'm organizing little events. I'm on events with my tent and with my chickens to do creative workshop with children. But I'm also an organizer. I want to show films to get people together, to have connection, and to learn about what is necessary to develop in our world. And so I have a lot of different things, and I studied biochemistry, so
I love it.
So I'm nothing and I'm all. So sometimes it's very disturbing. So where am I going? What's my the big thing is to change the world and to make it healthier and wealthier and happier. That's what I have on my cards. Maybe.
Oh, lovely. Yes. Yeah.
So, and there's another side, and it's where I am on an event.
Oh,
And
lovely.
I put my tent over there. It's very natural. It's very nice in the
Beautiful.
Netherlands, and I have my chickens with me, so to make the connections with the animals, and it's really very nice. So, yeah, it's
so fabulous.
It's overwhelming. Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes I would say it sounds to me like you're a very giving person, and you know, sometimes we tend to overgive, and that's where it can be hard. And that's another thing light workers have. It has a tendency to be overgiving. And sometimes you have to get back into the center of like, what is my real mission? And is everything actually moving me toward that? If you're kind of getting in touch with your queen energy, that she's the one that you check in with when you're wondering if you're depleted and you're depleting yourself. And if you're getting depleted, you're not in as high a level of service also. So the best way in with the helper mentality to make headway is to remind your helper, I'm actually not helping as well if I'm over helping. When I try to do too much, I'm not as helpful as I think I am. And if you could do a little less, you might have a little more bandwidth to learn the technology and the communication piece. It might not feel so overwhelming. And one thing I try to say is when you're going into new technology, try to put aside all of the stories you have about how hard it's going to be or how old you are or whatever, you know, barrier you might have to it, and go, I'm exploring. I'm an explorer. I'm going to make that mistake, and I don't care. I'm going to make all the mistakes, you know, and you'll learn faster. You know, you'll actually learn faster because it's usually not that hard to learn and get the hang of it. I mean, sometimes there are things that are challenging, but if you go in with this a mindset of willingness and you have some spaciousness in your life, if you don't have a lot of room, it's hard to expand those things. But the thing is, if you do, you're going to have more people coming to your events. You're going to get further with what you're trying to do. So it is worth it if you see that as integral to your mission, it's actually part of the mission, maybe just as important as you hosting an event. Maybe if you had a choice, you would host one less event and do a little more marketing, and then you could actually do more of what you want to do. So I would say play with that idea a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. It sounds wonderful. I want to go. I want to come to the Netherlands and go to your event. You said chickens, right? You have chickens at your event?
Yes.
Oh, I want to come meet your chickens.
I have them at home, and people, they are very surprised. A lot of people were saying, I never touched a chicken. They are so soft and said that they're.
Oh yeah, yeah. Chickens are amazing. They can actually be very sweet, very friendly. Well, thank you for sharing.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alice. Such a good question. Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alice, there's a great comment in the chat from Pamela, so definitely make sure to read that. All right. Well, this has been so wonderful, Theresa. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been so much
great
fun
for me too. Thank you. I've enjoyed it, and I appreciate everyone's questions too. That's been really good fun.
Questions.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and thank you for your awesome answers. I think.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I think everyone has learned so much here for your session.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everyone, if you haven't already gone to claim Theresa's free gift, make sure to go do that now, and then you'll get both of her gifts, including the one that's coming out soon, and you'll be on her newsletter to learn more about all of these topics. So make sure to do that. And also make sure to join us again at 1 p.m. Eastern today, because we will have another amazing speaker, Rachel, Aeolian Heart. She is an astrologer, and she's going to be speaking about how I became a stellar entrepreneur. So she's always wonderful and engaging. So everybody make sure to come back to the Zoom link at 1 p.m. New York time and join me and Rachel then. All right. Well, again, Theresa, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for being a part of this event.
Oh, so fun. And bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.